Okay, and then is there a way to like pause it? Today we're going to be doing retinoscopy, subjective refraction, and vertical dissociative biocular balance. So first we're going to start with ret, and we're going to make sure everything's zeroed out. So we have 0 in our cell, 0 in our sphere, and then we want to make sure our axes are at 180. Behind me, we will have the 2400E up with the red and green filter to cut down on glare. And then normally the lights will be off, but today we're going to keep them on so you can see what's going on here. We will measure the patient's far pupillary distance, and we'll put it up here in the phoropter, and then make sure these wings are also set out so they're at the far distance, not near. First, we're going to start with what our working distance is. So we want to make sure that you're at your working distance correctly. So when I'm here, that means I'm at 150 from my arm to my shoulder where my ret is. First, we're going to start and we're going to scope in the vertical direction. In the right eye, we're going to be doing a 3-eye method. So we're going to go right and then left and then back to right again. We're going to make sure that we tell the patient that we are taking their rough estimate of their prescription and to look at the big E and let us know if they're blocking. So again, we're going to start with the vertical direction, and we're going to look, in this case, the patient has no breaks. That's the first thing we're going to look at. And since we're having no breaks, we're going to keep it here. And I'm noticing there's against motion, so I need to add minus. So I'm going to add a click of minus. I'm still seeing against motion, so I'm going to add another click. And now I'm at neutral. So it means the whole pupil lights up. Now I'm going to kind of move and see if there's any more breaks as I go in the horizontal direction. And I noticed that there are no breaks and we're still at neutral. So we're good to go and we can move on to the left eye. Again, we're going to start in the vertical direction with our beam. And in this case, we still aren't seeing any breaks and we kind of go at a few angles. And I'm seeing neutral. So with that in mind, then we're going to go to the horizontal direction with our light. We're going to scope. And I'm noticing that my axis is at 180, it looks like, which is exactly where our axis is currently. So we don't need to change that. But I am noticing that I'm seeing against motion. So I need to dump in some still. So I'm going to dump in a click here. And I'm still seeing a little against, so I'm going to dump in another click. All right, I'm seeing neutral now. We're going to double check that we're still neutral with our beam vertical, and we are. Done with the left eye. Now we're going to go over to the right eye and just double check that everything is the same. Nothing's changed. And looks like vertical is good, horizontal is good. And we are good to go to move on with our subjective refraction. All right, so the numbers that we found here in ret are considered our gross values. So we need to take out our working distance to get our net, which is what we'll be using for subjective. So I work at 150, so I'm going to take out 6 clicks in the minus direction. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And so with these numbers, we're going to start our subjective refraction. We'll tell the patient that we're now going to be refining their prescription. And we're going to make sure that we have a 20/50 chart up with that, the 20/50 being the top line. And we're going to occlude their left eye. So now we're going to fog the patient, put them in a myopic fog. We're going to do it by 1 diopter. So we're going to do 4 clicks down. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to ask the patient what they can read out there. We want to make sure that they have a decrease of acuity by 2 lines. And so therefore, if they're unable to read, or if they can read out there, we need to fog them a little bit more by another diopter. So in this case, the patient is unable to read with the 2 lines of visual acuity. So we can start on our subjective here. So we're going to walk them out of their myopic fog and just have them kind of read down the chart until they're able to get to the 20/20 acuity line, but we're always going to check for 20/15. So we're going to walk them out 1 click at a time. We're going to ask the patient, double check their acuity as they're going down. They're still unable to read it. And now they're able to read the 20/20 line. We have them try the 20/15, and they're able to read the 20/15 as well. So now we're done with our sphere check. We need to go on to our sill though. We notice here that there's no sill in place. So this means we have to go fishing for sill. So in order to do that, we're going to drop in a 1/4 diopter of sill. And we're going to take our JCC here and we're going to put it in power position, which means the dots are in line with the axis. So we're already in power position here. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell the patient that there's going to be 2 images out there. We need to put up an isolated 20, 30 line since their acuity was 20/20. Usually if you have your acuity will go up 1 line better, but in the case of 2015, 2020, and 2025, you're going to put up the 20/30 line isolated. So the 20/30 line is isolated behind me, and we're going to ask the patient which one's better, 1 or 2, or if they're both about the same, that's a good answer as well, but also remind them that they're going to be blurry. So we're going to ask what's better, 1 or 2. And in this case, the patient says that 1 is better, which means that they like the sill at the 180 mark. So we can continue on and we can do all the other meridians as well. So turn to the 45 and you'll go what's better, 1 or 2. And in this case, the patient doesn't like it because the whites are in line. So we'll go to the 90. We'll do it there, 1 or 2. Patient says 1, don't like it. And then we go to the 130 and again, 1 or 2. Patient doesn't like it. So then we're going to go back to the 180. And we're going to turn this into our axis position. We're going to refine our axis. So we'll go until it clicks. So it's the dots are straddling the axis here. And we're going to ask the patient again, what's better, 1 or 2? And in this case, the patient said 2. So we need to chase the red. So we can either follow these 2 dots or we can do these 2 dots. I'm going to do these 2. So since this is above the axis, we're going to go up by 15 degrees since they have 1 or under. So we're going to go up to the 15 degree. And I ask what's better, 1 or 2? Now they're saying down here. So we're going to go back down, split the difference. Better 1 or 2. And again, they went down. So we're going to keep on moving down. Better 1 or 2. And again, they're still red. So we're going to move down. And then we ask better 1 or 2. And they stay about the same. So that means our axis will be at 160 in the right eye. Then we're going to just double check power here. So we're going to pop it back in the power position until it clicks again. And again, we're going to ask what's better, 1 or 2. And in this case, the patient says 2. And since the whites are in line, that means they don't want any more sill. So we're going to just keep it there at the 25 diopter mark. After that is complete, we're going to pop off the JCC and we're going to put back up a chart that has the 20/50 line at the top. And we're going to put them back in a myopic fog again, reminding them that it's going to be a little blurry. So we're going to do 50 this time, 0.50 diopters. So 2 clicks, 1, 2. And we're going to ask if they can read anything on the chart. And if they're unable to, that's perfect. We're going to just walk them out, which is the case here. So we're going to ask them when they can read the 20/20 line. Not quite yet. And now they can. So now we're done with the right eye. We're going to do the same thing, but with the left eye. So we're going to occlude the right eye, open the left eye. And in this case, again, we're going to have the 20/50 line put up, or the 20/50 chart with that at the top behind us. And we're going to fog them. So we're going to do 4 clicks again because we're doing 1 diopter. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to see if they can read anything up there again. In this case, they're unable to. So, which is what we want. We're going to walk them out until they can read 20/20 and encourage 20/15. So here's 1. Still unable to. Nothing. And now they're able to. So with that, now we're going to move on to our sill check. But since we already have sill that we picked up on Ret, we don't have to go fishing for it. So we're going to go right into the axis check. So we're going to flip this down. This is in power position currently, so we need to turn it, put it in axis position. Again, we're going to isolate a 20/30 line up there since they got 20/20 acuity. And we're going to tell the patient again that there's going to be 2 views, both of which are going to be a little blurry. And so let us know which one's better, 1 or 2. And if they're about the same, that's a good option as well. So what's better, 1 or 2? And in this case, the patient says that they like 2 better. So we're going to chase this red dot and we're going to go up by 15. We're going to ask again, 1 or 2. And in this case, they're going to say 2, and the red dot's down here. So we're going to split the difference. And we're going to ask one more time, better 1 or 2. And they're going to say that they like 1 better, red dot down here. So we're going to go down, and then better 1 or 2, and they're going to say about the same. And so we're going to settle on an axis of 5. Now we're going to check their power. So we're going to pop it into power position here. And again, we're going to ask better 1 or 2, and the patient's going to say 2. So we have, because we have the reds in line with each other, we're going to dump in another quarter of sil. We're going to ask again, better 1 or 2, and they're going to say 1, and they want more because there's red there, so we're going to dump it in. Now, since we went up by 2 clicks here in the sil, we have to follow the 2 to 1 rule, so we need to take and give them a positive click of sphere to maintain the circle of least confusion on the retina. So we're going to go down 1, and then we're going to ask them again, better 1 or 2. Patient likes 1 better. The reds are still superimposed, so we're going to dump in another quarter. We're going to ask them one more time, better 1 or 2. And they say about the same, so we're done with our sil check. We're going to pop the JCC out, and now we're going to move on to our final best sphere check. So in this case, again, we're going to put up a chart with a 20/50 line at the top, and we're going to fog them by a half diopter, so 2 clicks down. So we're going to go 1, 2, and then we're going to have them read the chart until they're able to get to the 20/20 line, if possible, and then try for 20/15. So patient's still unable to read, and at this, they're able to read the 20/20 and the 20/15. And with that, we are now done with subjective, and we'll be moving on to the vertical dissociative binocular balance. All right, now that we're done with subjective, we're going to move on to our vertical dissociative binocular balance to make sure that we have the same accommodation going on in both eyes and one isn't working more than the other. So we're going to have either the patient sit back in the chair, you can tell them to close their eyes, or you can occlude one eye. So I'm going to occlude the left eye in this case. And while I get it set up, I'm going to dump in, these are the Risley prisms here. So we want to make sure, normally they should be set at 0. So we'll have them set at 0. And we want to have one eye with base up and one eye with base down. So in the right eye, we're going to do 3 diopters of base up. And in the left eye, we're going to do 3 diopters of base down. We're going to fog the patient by 3/4 of a diopter. So we're going to put them in a myopic fog again. We're going to do 3 clicks down. So 1 and 2 and 3. And then we're going to tell the patient, we're going to isolate a 20/40 line out on the chart. And we're going to open up the left eye and have the patient look out and ask what they're seeing out there. Hopefully the patient will say that they see 2 lines on top of each other. If they don't for some reason, you can just scratch this and move on because they're not appreciating the prisms. But anyways, in this case, the patient will say that they see 2 lines. One is on top of the other one. And you're going to ask the patient if both of them appear readable. If yes is the case, you can keep the 20/30 up or 20/40 up. If no is the case, you'll put a 20/50 up. In this case, the patient says, yes, they can read them. So you're going to ask which one appears blurrier. And in this case, the patient is going to say that the bottom line is blurrier. And so you're going to fog the patient by a 1/4 diopter of fog. So in this case, since the base up prism is in the right eye, that's doing the bottom line. So we're going to fog the right eye by a 1/4 diopter. So we're going to go down in the positive direction. You're going to ask the patient if they both are about the same blurriness or not. And if not, you're going to add more. But in this case, the patient says that they are both equally blurry. So you're done with the prisms and you can take them away. Now you're going to put a chart back up with 20/50 line at the top. And you're going to walk the patient out of their myopic fog until they can read the 20/20 and then always encourage the 20/15. So we're going to walk the patient out, both eyes simultaneously. You're going to click at the same time. So we're going to walk out. And right here is where the patient can read. So you're going to write down your findings and you will now have their prescription for them.